Not every single relationship red flag has to be dramatic. Sometimes they can be super quiet and sneaky, and those ones are the most expensive red flags because they can cause some of the biggest heartbreak and confusion in relationships. Last week's episode, we talked all about relationship green flags. And if you didn't get to check that out, definitely go back to the previous episode and check that out there. Because today we are going to be talking about relationship red flags and what to do when something doesn't feel right or what to look out for when you're unsure if this is a red flag or not. And then we're going to be talking about coming in orgasms and what those sexual red flags are that people downplay. But first, welcome to Carla Turned On, where dating and relationships get real, sex gets talked about, and the BS gets left on red. Let's get turned on. This is part 2 of Relationship Deep Dive, but instead of going into all the amazing green flags and what's healthy and what to look for, we're going to be diving into what to look for when your gut feels off AF or what to look for when you're unsure, because it can be confusing as hell. Let's be freaking honest. When we are talking about relationship red flags, I'm going to be real with you. Not everybody defines relationship red flags as the same red flags. To some people, cheating is not a red flag. To other people, they're like, that is absolutely a fucking red flag. And this is exactly why we are going to be getting into the 5 big relationship red flags and what to look out for, how you can spot them, and how you can feel safe in a relationship. Look, I'm also going to just say this. A lot of people want to turn those red flags green. I have been there myself. I am not a stranger to wanting everything to work out perfectly. And a lot of times when I used to paint red flags green, it was rooted in codependency, which is low self-esteem, not feeling worthy, not feeling enough. So you lose a part of yourself to another person, right, in a relationship. And look, codependency doesn't have to just be romantic relationships. Codependency can come out with family, friends, coworkers, that kind of thing. But the focus was very much for me on romantic relationships. And all of a sudden, if I could feel that something was off, I thought, oh no, I have to make this work. I have to make this work. I don't want to be single because if I'm single, it means I'm a failure. It means I'm not doing relationships right and doing them perfectly. But instead, staying in these relationships that had these red flags was dangerous for me. And so I just think it's important to go over these. Look, I'm not saying you have to break up the person. I'm not saying you have to go get a divorce. I'm not saying you have to end things today. But what I am saying is you've got to listen to your gut. If it's off, it's off. And you have to look out for what your needs are. At the end of the day, you are the only person in this relationship. Your friends, your family can't tell you what to do. They might be really loud if they see things and they're concerned. And I'm going to be honest with you. If you have a family member or a friend who is expressing concern and you keep wanting to push back, oh, no, it's fine, and you're making excuses for the person, you have a really good friend or family member who is willing to actually be honest and tell you what they see. You might not listen to it right away. You might not even see it. But the fact that you're here and you're listening, whether you're single or in a relationship or married, shows that you want to be able to look out for these red flags. So let's dive into these 5 huge relationship red flags that you have got to notice and you cannot miss. Number 1, inconsistency. We're talking about withdrawing. You could see this hot and cold behavior. Words don't match actions, or there's very little follow through. They might say a lot and talk a lot, but there's not a lot of follow through. Here is the thing with consistency. When you are building consistency in a relationship, and maybe at first you were like, when we were dating, they were very consistent. Everything felt great. Maybe also it felt too great. Maybe they were so consistent, showed up so much, planned every date, was there for you. And all of a sudden you're like, this is really confusing. Why does it feel inconsistent now? Because I'm holding on to what was. So maybe they're just going through a rough patch, right? That's painting a red flag green. If things are not consistent, and I'm not talking about a one-off, your partner saying they're going to do the dishes and all of a sudden they leave for work and you're like, the dishes aren't done. They're inconsistent. Carla said it's a red flag. It's done. It's over. I'm getting rid of them. No, I am not saying that at all. Press the brakes. But what I am saying with inconsistency, that when you over time start chipping away those inconsistencies, you start to break reliability. And when you start to break down the reliability in a relationship, you don't feel secure. You can't trust that the person is going to follow through and do what they said that they would do. Consistency creates stability in the relationship. And when you don't have stability, things can start to feel very messy and it can start to make you question, are they going to follow through on this? Are they really going to come home on time? Are they really meeting up with their friends or are they lying to me? What's taking them so long to get back to me? Shady business, right? Shady behaviors can start to come out of inconsistency. And it feels confusing because maybe they give you just enough to hold on to. Like they let you a little bit inside their world so that you feel secure. And you're like, okay, all right, I'm overreacting. I'm the one that's the problem. And that can be really difficult because when you start to put the focus on yourself as I'm the problem, you start to diminish the reality of what this person's doing and their actions. Now, I'm a dating and relationship coach. I am all for putting the focus on ourselves and looking and exploring. But sometimes when we put that focus on ourselves, we're expecting to work on ourselves and improve ourselves. When in reality, sometimes it actually mirrors how unhealthy this person's behavior is acting toward us. You need consistency. If you do not have consistency, you do not have a healthy relationship. Number two, this one irks me. Lack of accountability. So, this one is really key when it comes to conflict because if they don't hold themselves accountable for how they treated you, and look, I am the first one to say nobody is perfect in a relationship. We are fucking human beings. We all come from certain pasts. We have triggers, but if, oh, I'm triggered is the excuse with no follow through and accountability. So it's not just saying you're in conflict. All right. Like, for example, I had a client and she and her partner got into this really big argument. It was around their finances and how they were going to split rent in their new apartment that they were renting together. And so she was talking to him about it. And he said, okay, you know what? If you don't want to split it equitably, then I am just gonna pay whatever for groceries and I don't care anymore how much we budget and spend and all this stuff. Okay. So clearly her partner was triggered from past experiences, childhood, relationship with finances, that kind of thing. That is a normal thing. But she was the one to go to him. She was the one to hold the relationship accountable and say, hey, can we talk? That wasn't fun when we just got into that. And what came out of it is he recognized, I'm sorry. He took accountability for being able to own his part. I'm sorry, I got triggered. But he took no accountability for ensuring or working on his triggers. That's called awareness. That's not called accountability. And you might think, oh, you're really harsh. But I think that what is important here is when we take accountability, it's not just apologizing. Okay, I recognize I got triggered. I got triggered from XYZ, or I recognize I got triggered. I'm going to go back to my coach or therapist and work on why I'm getting triggered and why this is a problem and work on it so I don't affect you this way in the relationship. Instead, he just apologized, said he got triggered, but there was no talk of accountability on changing the behavior. So accountability isn't just I'm sorry. And look, the obvious one is if somebody never says sorry, that's a problem. If somebody does not say sorry in a relationship, that is a big ass red flag. But accountability in disguise, there's lots of people who have awareness. Lots of people can say, I'm so sorry I blew up on you, or I'm sorry I got triggered. I had a hard childhood. And then it ends there. The accountability has to be about what behaviors are you going to change? Now, like my client, they didn't have to go to therapy. They don't have to go to a coach to show accountability, but they can have a conversation around the repair of the conflict. I don't want to treat you that way. That wasn't right. I overstepped and I really apologize. I am going to work on pausing when I start to feel really anxious. So when I start feeling anxious and I start having a lot of anxiety and feel pressured around the financial stuff, I'm going to let you know, I'm going to have a little pause and I'm just going to walk away for a little bit until I calm and then I'll come back to the conversation. That's taking accountability. But by just saying sorry, that's not enough. It's not enough accountability in relationships. Look, I get it. Sometimes a sorry is fine. Like you don't have to have big discussions about everything. And I want to put this disclaimer in here because not everything has to be, okay, we need to talk about it, or you need to go back to therapy, or you need to work on this. I'm talking about things where conflict is heightened. Somebody acts out. And when it starts to become a pattern of them acting out in their trigger, not just a one off, but in their trigger, and it starts to become this pattern and there's no accountability, yes, red flags. And if they blame you, that is a massive red flag because that can look like, and it's not always so noticeable, but if somebody's blaming you, it could be, you made me angry. That's why I reacted that way. Boom, right there, that's a blame. That ain't cool. Not everything, though, is a red flag. So somebody might say that once and then be like, shit, I need to take ownership for my actions. But once again, that person's taking accountability and making those changes. Number 3 is, hey, real quick, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want dating support, don't forget to look in the notes below where you can learn all about my guides and how to work with me. And if you want to follow me on my socials, you can find me anywhere at I am Carla Romo. Let's get turned on. Number 3 is disrespect disguised as humor. Those jokes ain't funny when they put you down in front of others or they put you down, just the two of you, and you're sitting there and you're like, that made me feel like shit. That wasn't really that funny. It's at the expense of you. Once was dating somebody who was abusive. I'm going to use this as a perfect example. This person was abusive toward me and I love eating. I really do. It's like a hobby. I enjoy going to different restaurants and I always look at restaurant lists and I like to go eat and it's exciting for me. I just take enjoyment in it. I mean, I've traveled the world in regards to different cuisines in different countries because I was like, I have to go to Vietnam and eat pho, right? This is going to sound funny because people hate on British food, but every time I would go visit my sister who lived in England for years with her family, I would go hit up those fish and chips. Damn, those fish and chips. I'm telling you, the chips in England are very, very different than the French fries. Whatever oil or whatever they make are so good. Okay, I know I'm digressing. And one time he was like, if you're watching this on YouTube, then you can see what I'm about to do. If you're not watching it on YouTube, that's totally fine. Just kind of take note here of me pointing to my temple in my head, okay? So you're like, what? Where are you going with this, Carla? Okay, so my ex looked at me and he was like, you're fat, aren't you? And pointed to his head. And to me, it made me sort of feel a little like that didn't make me feel like he is calling me fat, but he's doing it in a playful way and pointing at my head like I'm fat. And then he's also putting fat people down, right? Like the idea that if somebody's fat, quote unquote, which I don't like using the word fat. If somebody is fat, then they are a problem. But he's like, oh, you're fat. Ha ha ha. You're really fat. And I was like, ooh, I don't like this feeling. That is just one example of many, but it was supposed to be quote unquote a joke. And that wasn't very funny to me. The other big thing is public embarrassment. So they do something to humiliate you in front of friends, coworkers, family. And this can look like calling out a vulnerability of yours or something that they know that you're insecure about. Okay. And they might make a joke in public about it, but nobody else catches that it's not a joke, but you feel humiliated on the inside or you're feeling embarrassed. That's a way that they're controlling you in public. So you can't get upset with them because you're in front of everybody. And oh, come on, it's a joke. So even if you went to them and said, hey, that upset me, but it's just a joke. No, if you're hearing shit like that and somebody once again is not taking accountability, you need to really watch out for that. I will say, if somebody makes a joke at your expense and you didn't like it and you bring it up to your partner, hey, that did not make me feel good when you said that. And they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Wasn't my intention. I was acting kind of bratty or whatever. Really apologize, won't happen again. Then okay, that's okay. We're not perfect and sometimes we fuck up. But the idea is this is not a pattern and this doesn't keep happening to you. Number 4 is boundary testing. Oh, but you're too sensitive. Yeah, bullshit. You're too sensitive. Your feelings are valid. And if you tell somebody, hey, I don't like that, and they push against it, or they tell you that you're too sensitive, or can't you take a joke, right? Kind of what we were talking about earlier. And you are feeling upset, or maybe I am too sensitive. They are pushing your boundaries. Boundaries are essential to healthy relationships. They are actually what keeps relationships healthy, what gives you autonomy in relationships, which keeps you to be your own individual selves in relationships. You should not be enmeshed in relationships. When you become enmeshed in relationships, you are talking about codependency, what I was talking about a little bit earlier here. You do not want that, right? So the idea of having a boundary is for self-care. They're bendable not because somebody bent them, but they're bendable because you no longer need the boundary. So when we are talking about red flags and them pushing against those boundaries, for example, you say, hey, I'm not really looking to go out with friends tonight. Like, I'm just feeling so exhausted, but like, you go for it. They start to give you a hard time. Oh, come on. Like, just come on. Like, why you never go out? Like, come on. And you're like, no, I'm like really tired. I want to stay in. And they're giving you a hard time about that. That's a problem. Like in context here, what I was saying earlier, if you see this as a pattern, maybe one time they're like, oh, come on, like it would be fun. And you're like, no, I'm just too tired. And like, all right, I get it. That is a healthy interaction. But if they're pushing and they're making you feel bad, and then you're like, fine, I guess I'll go out tonight. And they're like, yeah, finally, okay. Like you got to stop being so boring or you got to be more fun. That is not cool. That's not okay. I am going to say this because I think it's really important, but no is a complete sentence. And that can be not just for relationships, but you can use that at work. You can use that with family, with friends. You never have to give anybody an explanation. People who respect you in your relationships do not negotiate your limits. And that is going to be so important to create a healthy relationship so that you can be your own person and your partner can be their own person. And then all of a sudden you have a healthy relationship that's thriving because you're your own individual selves and you respect that. Number 5, emotional dysregulation. Look, I'm going to put a disclaimer on this. If you are somebody who gets emotionally dysregulated in your relationship and you're working through it, you have sought professional help, you have learned tools, different ways, modalities to work through the emotional regulation. And it is something that you're actively trying to work through. Green flags, seriously, because none of us are perfect. We've all been through shit. Our relationships bring out so much. If we didn't heal in one space, the relationship is going to mirror whatever you didn't heal right into that relationship. Like, I am just going to be freaking real with you. It's humbling, but it's also a wake-up call sometimes. That's okay. What I'm talking about are rage outbursts and no accountability with it. I'm also going to be real with you. If you are somebody who gets emotionally dysregulated or your partner does, and you have rage outbursts and it becomes violent or dangerous, that is a red flag. It is. And that person needs to work on themselves to be able to remove themselves because you should never put anybody else in danger or you should never be in danger due to somebody's outburst. The silent treatment. Ooh, that one is so unproductive. This comes out a lot in conflict. And if you grew up or your partner grew up in a family that does not talk about things and never repairs conflict and just kind of brushes it under the rug and moves on in life, the silent treatment is going to probably come up in your relationship at some point and needs to be addressed. But the red flag of it is that this person does it to punish you. So now they're using the silent treatment as a form of control. They are making sure that they are sending a loud, clear signal that they will not talk to you because they are angry with you. And you deserve to not hear from them or talk with them and interact with them until either you apologize or time goes on and they've decided, okay, enough. I need you again for something else. So I'm going to talk to you again. No, the silent treatment is not okay. It's not healthy. And it's emotional immaturity, big time. So yes, like I said, if you came from a family where silent treatment or no conflict repair was a thing, I get that, but we're adults now, so you got to own up and take care of those things. And then also, this is another big one, which is punishing with withdrawal. Oh, I'm not going to go out tonight because you said that to me. Okay, that's a red flag. So now you are telling your partner because of what you did, there's consequences. Ultimatums, and we're human beings. Okay. So that's not somebody having healthy boundaries. And sometimes people use that as disguise. Oh, well, this is a boundary of mine. I'm withdrawing. I'm not going to go out tonight because you treated me that way. That's a boundary. No, that's not a boundary. That is you being manipulative and using it as a form of control, or your partner being manipulative. I'm not really talking to you. Obviously, you are here and we are hanging out. But when I say you, I'm not saying you. I hope that makes sense. But emotional dysregulation is so key to getting help around. Nobody's perfect. I get that. But if somebody is not taking accountability around it, they are putting you in harm's way, they are withdrawing, they're giving you the silent treatment as a form of control, that is a big fucking flag. You should never feel like you are managing somebody else's mood to keep the peace. That is walking on eggshells. Red flags are not about perfection. Okay? You're a human being, but red flags are 110% about patterns. Watch out for them. And if we're talking about red flags that happen, we cannot ignore what happens and what goes down, no pun intended, in the bedroom. So we are going to talk about it. We are in our taco section, talking about coming in orgasms. And we are going to talk about the red sexual flags that people downplay. Yes, that are not normal. And you might be sitting here thinking like, this is normal that my partner does this to me or treats me this way or says this or acts this way. This goes for men and women. Okay, let's dive into it. Number one, self-focused intimacy. Whew. Okay, they don't care about your needs. So it doesn't have to just be sexual intercourse. It could be oral sex, touching, kissing, pace, whatever. But if they're only focused on their own sexual pleasure and are not focused on your sexual pleasure, that is a serious imbalance. That is a problem. Our culture likes to focus a lot on men being the one that get pleased and women are just kind of these objects used for sex. And I am not saying that you having sex, whether you're a man or a woman, go into it with that mindset. I am not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that because that is the extreme of thinking, a lot of times we only think about, oh, well, if you have sex and you are a woman and you have sex with a man and he finishes and then that's it, right? Like he doesn't acknowledge, oh, you didn't finish, or what would you like, or what could we do next time in terms of foreplay so that you're at least enjoying it, or did you enjoy it? Was it okay? He's following up and asking those questions. Like if he's not invested at all and he is only about himself and what he likes and isn't communicating with you about that, that's a flag. Like that is a problem. Both people sexually, men and women, or men and men, women and women, it doesn't matter who you're having sex with. At the end of the day, both people's needs matter sexually. So it should never feel like it's one-sided. And I know I put a lot of emphasis on like men coming during sex and women not. However, I will say this, there have been roles switched where I've had clients where it was a man and the woman was very abusive sexually and only cared about her pleasure and didn't care about her partner's pleasure. It can go both ways. So I don't want anybody to sit here and think, oh, it's only one way or it's only women. We put a lot of focus around sexual red flags for women, which is important. Do not get me wrong. But men also experience sexual red flags and it's not talked about enough. Number two, boundary negotiation. Oof. Anybody who pushes against your boundaries of your safety and what feels comfortable and right for you, red fucking flag. No is no, doesn't matter. Or if somebody's pressuring you and is like, oh, well, and you're like, oh, I don't want to go. I don't want to, I don't want to have sex right now. Like, I'm just really tired. Like, just a little bit, just for a little bit, please. No, that's somebody pushing against your boundary. Many times we don't really think about this. We're like, oh, fine, my partner wants to have sex. I'll have sex with them. If you are too tired and you're not feeling it, it is okay to say no. And if your partner pushes back or gets angry at you, that emotional dysregulation that we talked about earlier, that is a key problem here. Okay. And I'm going to say this right now. You want to make sure you have consensual sex in relationships. We only think about consent in dating or hookups, but consent also extends its beautiful lengthy arm. I don't know if that's even a fucking saying in relationships. Okay. So yes, we talk about that, but it's so freaking important in relationships too. And I'm also just going to throw out there as well that if you are wanting more content around taco and things like that, I post a lot of this stuff on my TikTok and my Instagram, Facebook, my YouTube. You can follow all of that at I am Carla Romo. And also don't forget, if you're a fan of Carla Turned On, please, 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 please drop a review. Let us know how you feel about the podcast because I really appreciate your support. It's awesome. And if you want to work with me in any capacity, I do have a guide, No Filter, the sex guide every dater needs, or Swipe Match Spark, the ultimate dating app guide, or you want just one-on-one coaching, go to the show notes or carlaromo.com to work with me. Okay, I know I'm digressing, but I just want to throw that out there for anybody who is like getting triggered or really feeling confused with this right now. Like there is support that I do offer around this. And number three, using sex as control. Hell no. That is sketchy AF. Okay, so what sex looks like when somebody is trying to use it as control. They get mad at you. So you were supposed to have sex as maybe in your relationship, you guys planned, okay, we're gonna have sex tonight. They get mad at you and it's nothing too big. It's not, it's not like you guys get into some kind of conflict that really disrupts the evening and you're both kind of like, I don't think we should have sex. It's something that happens and they get really angry toward you. And then it's earlier in the day and they're like, you know what? Fine. I'm not having sex with you tonight. That is a form of control. They are using sex to control you at that point. So, okay, what does that mean then if they get mad at you and then they're withholding and withdrawing? Now, I understand, right? I just talked about consent. If somebody is upset and is like, hey, I know we talked about having sex. I don't know if I'm feeling it. I'm feeling really upset and like my nervous system's dysregulated. Or I'm just feeling upset and I'm not really feeling into it. Okay, that's different. But if they're using it in a way to control you, to get you to do something, to get you to apologize, to get you to act differently, fucking red flags. Or another really big red flag is only showing affection when they want something from you. That's bullshit. It needs to be both ways. But if they're kind of like, oh, I want to get something from you, or I want this out of you, or fine, I'll have sex with you if we can go do this, or they have sex and then ask you a really big question afterwards, and you're like, wait, I'm so confused. Like I feel like I was just set up. Yeah, that is a problem. That is a big problem, and it's a red flag. And it's really important to be able to recognize some of these signs. And you might feel shame. Like I said, you might freak out about it, but just note there are resources available for you if you are feeling confused about this, because it's normal to have conflict in relationships. Completely normal. It's healthy. I talk about that in the previous podcast episode, all around green flags. So that is normal. It's healthy. However, when these red flags start to become a pattern, sexually, non-sexually, you got to really take a look at yourself. You are fucking worth it. You are worthy of being in a relationship with somebody who respects you and who treats you with kindness and care and mirrors that worthiness that you have on the inside. Don't give up on yourself. Loved this episode? Rate it 5 stars, hit that subscribe button, baby, and leave a review. Do you want to work with me? Grab my dating courses, apply for my coaching at carlaromo.com, or find it all in the show notes, and give me a little follow at I am Carla Romo on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Catch you next time, and stay tuned. Carla Turned On is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is not a substitute for therapy. For professional support, please reach out to a licensed mental health provider.